Tonight, in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on ÉQUINOXE television, we talk about preparations ahead of the 7th of October 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. The president of the National Communication Council, Peter Isuka, that is intensifying an anti-hate speech campaign ahead of the 7th of October polls in the country. Also, in this newscast, we shall be talking about the situation in the southwest regional headquarters of Buea, where calm is gradually returning to that part of the country after Bamenda, the road linking Buea, Kumba, and other parts of the southwest region was simply blocked. That was in the early hours of this morning by armed individuals. The attack, which took place at mile 16, to be more precise, left passengers frustrated. We take a look at the aftermath of the incident in this morning in that part of Cameroon. This newscast, those are headlines. We shall be right back with the details. Stay with us. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to join us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on ÉQUINOXE television. 5 cars, including a truck, were set ablaze. That was today in mile 16, a neighborhood in Buea subdivision, Fakov, the southwest region of Cameroon. The surprise attack that took place in the morning left several passengers who left Kumba traveling through Buea to Motengene, Douala, and other parts of the southwest region stranded, and local inhabitants have again put to question the role of security forces in that part of the country, given that the attack actually took place just few meters away from a security control point. Details with Simanjika Gabriel.
There were many Buea inhabitants who were held back from traveling out of their town this morning. The cause of this hindrance was the surprise attack by unknown gunmen at the mile 16 neighborhood of the Buea subdivision, setting ablaze vehicles with just black smoke seen from a distance and also blocking the road. The incident led to the slump of activities in Buea, with the central market deserted, stores at the mile 17 motor park all closed, and some travelers stranded as they have no cars. Hours later, after the intervention of the forces of law and order, circulation was once again fluid, and along the roads we saw the carcass of the burnt lorry and cars around the mile 16 food market. The very quiet mile 17 motor park had also gained little steam, with cars entering. Many are still asking the question, the whereabouts of the military when this other incident occurred, as it happened just some few meters from the joint gendarme and police control located at mile 16.
Simanjika Gabriel there, taking a look at the situation is in the southwest regional headquarters of Buea in the early hours of this morning. It should be noted that movement has resumed in Buea. People leaving Buea going to Motengene can now go to their various destinations, but the atmosphere is still an uneasy one, according to reports on the ground. A lot of casualties were equally recorded. ÉQUINOXE television is closely following up developments in that part of Cameroon, and we, of course, will be telling you more in our subsequent newscast. Now, here in the economic capital, Douala, we talk about upcoming presidential election in Cameroon, and the situation in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon has left human rights defenders preoccupied about right violations in that part of the country. On the eve of an election like the case of Cameroon at the moment, there is need for the right of voters and civilians to be respected and protected. That is the purpose of a workshop organized today in Douala by the Network of Human Rights Defenders in Central Africa, otherwise known in its French acronym as REDAC. During the meeting in the city of Douala, REDAC trained participants who are election stakeholders, electors, and journalists on the techniques of election observation. This is to help avoid fraud and ensure that poll results reflect the minds of voters in the country. Let's now have an excerpt of Senator Pierre Flambongaya. He's senator of the NUDP political parties. He was one of the facilitators at the seminar organized by Redak in Douala today. Let's hear him in the following excerpt. He was speaking to Equinox Television.
At giving training to women and youth during this special period of our country. This period is especially sensitive because we are at the eve of a major election, the presidential election. This election is being preparing during a period where insecurity is increasing, especially in the northwest and the southwest region, but not only in these regions. And it's very important that human rights being protected during this period, and especially during this period, because the citizens will be outside for campaigning, they will be outside for voting, so they are exposing to many risks of seeing their rights being violated. I'll be giving a training to how to observe elections before, during, after the D-Day, so that participants know how to manage this period concerning elections.
Some of the participants at the gathering in the economic capital last week, it just saw where women who actually admitted that fraud has continued to mar elections in Cameroon, and that there is need for women to take an active role or to play that active role in the protection of their votes. Let's now get the excerpts of some participants who were women in the seminar today organized by Redak. They were speaking to ETV.
Most people don't know that women play a big role when it comes to defending human rights. And they have a special touch when it comes to times, especially times of crisis like this, because women are mothers and they can easily penetrate places that even men cannot penetrate. So I think it is timely for us to train women to do this work during these risky times, as they will know how to do it the way only women know how to do it.
Even human rights activists in the Northwest are afraid to talk because they don't see themselves being because they're being protected. They don't see their security. They are afraid because when you talk, the military is after you. They say you are a terrorist and you're against them. If you're against them, then you are a terrorist. In cases like this, we've seen people come up with votes from nowhere, and so something must be done. People can't just sit and say nothing will happen. And when we've seen cases like this where no votes go on, yet you see they bring out a list of people who voted, or they bring out votes and you don't know where they are coming from.
And still, as far as upcoming presidential election in Cameroon, it should be noted that the National Communication Council met with a journalist that was in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, today. But before we come back to that, we are going to be taking a look at the health programs of some politicians or the various opposition presidential candidates in the country. One of the key sectors of the nation is that of health, that is greatly affecting the Cameroonian society. What are the various candidates vying for post of president in the country proposing? Others are saying that access to medical care is going to be free of charge, contrary to what Cameroonians are experiencing today. Our reporter Mfomi Armstrong Sanda went through the various medical programs of the 9 political candidates, or the 9 candidates vying for post of president in Cameroon. Let's hear him in the following report.
Health policy will definitely play a significant role in the October 7 presidential election, with the opposition focusing on accessibility, affordability and free health care to some categories of Cameroonians, and in some cases to all Cameroonians. In any order, Cabral Libi of the Universe Party in his manifesto proposes the establishment of a health insurance scheme which will permit every Cameroonian to be immediately taken care of when he or she is sick. He believes the same project will enable Cameroonian women to give birth free irrespective of the delivery method. Free child delivery for Cameroonian women is also part of the health policy of Osi Joshua, flag bearer of the Social Democratic Front SDF party. Osi Joshua goes even further to propose free prenatal and postnatal care until the age of 2 for the child. Osi Joshua plans to introduce health coverage up to 500,000 francs CFA per household in a year for a premium of 1,000 francs per person monthly. To Maurice Kamto, candidate and president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party, basic health care will be free and accessible to all Cameroonians. He plans to eradicate endemic diseases and increase the percentage of national budget devoted to health from the current 6%. Gaga Aman Adi of the Alliance for Democracy and Development thinks of preventive means like the distribution of running and potable water. He also considers updating vaccination in regions. The improvement of the ratio of sanitation, supervision and the responsibility of the public health sector are, according to him, ways of effectively reducing mortality in Cameroon. Prophet Franklin Difo Afanu of the Cameroon National Citizens Movement Party says hospitals under his reign must take care of patients until they are completely recovered before presenting bills. He plans to intensify preventive campaigns against some pandemics and strengthen the fight against HIV/AIDS, malaria and tuberculosis. Akere Tambe Muna of the Popular Democratic Front Party proposes the establishment of a remote primary care in each community, secondary care in every subdivision, tertiary care in each division, as well as specialists and referral centers in every region of the country. The Cameroon Development Union Party of Adamu Damjoya believes in reinforcing the training of health personnel at the level of the university. Such as Espoir Matomba of Peace Party gives priority to health insurance for all as well as healthcare structural reforms. The current health system, championed by the CPTM-led government, is seen from this angle by these candidates as wanting.
That is for me, Armstrong Sanda, with what the various candidates vying for post of president in Cameroon would be doing to improve on the health sector in the country. Now, a handful of journalists from different parts of the country are being trained on the fight against hate speech in the country. They are taking part at the National Seminar on Hate Speech. That is the hate speech problem in the nation's capital. Speaking at the seminar, the National Communication Council President Peter Isoka elaborated on how to intensify, on the intensity rather, of the problem and the urgent need to eradicate hate speech in Cameroon. It should be noted that during the meeting that was grouping media men and women in Yaoundé today, it was an opportunity for some video excerpts of some examples of hate speech on Cameroonian television to be viewed or to be published to the various media practitioners that were taking part in the meeting that was in Yaoundé today. Let's now come back to an excerpt of the president of the National Communication Council, Peter Isoka, was speaking to Equinox Television.
At the end of these exchanges, you would have worked towards doing away with the often extreme consequences of hate speech. These adverse effects, which include deepening division in society, radicalization, increased extremism, and shrinking national morale, are the most likely bedrocks of wars and instability. In today's modern and free world, where anyone can think of themselves as journalists, sometimes without any basic training, it is up to the regulator and especially you, upright professionals and media owners, to recruit and to train young Cameroonians who are intellectually and morally able to give nobility to the best job in the world, in strict compliance with the fundamental values of human dignity, social peace, national unity and territorial integrity. It is therefore imperative for the protection of our profession to avoid all irresponsible attitudes that would relativize values. That such speech is rampant in our media organs is a cause for concern. Its impact has victimized many and has raised or incited rebellious attitudes that are detrimental to the well-being and safety of the human person and the society. We have had enough of blatant immaturity in the way language is used in our media, to the extent where people's minds have been hijacked or taken hostage by such gross irresponsibility. It is unfortunate that the reasonable people I consider we are have joined the bandwagon of those who use inappropriate speech as a weapon of destabilization and division. It is around these few ideas that I would like to base this consultation, praying you all to make it as free as possible to speak as you wish, so that our exchanges will not only bring forth ideas or calls for better media content in Cameroon, but also reasoned recommendations that we find necessary to address to the authorities of our nation.
It is a growing phenomenon, and thus the need to intensify the fight against hate speech in Cameroon. As Peter Esoka, the president of the National Communication Council, elaborated on some of the examples and disadvantages of hate speech in the country, attributed the problem to what he called poor training and the invasion of the profession by some persons who are misusing the title of journalist. He equally urged all to work to eradicate the ill. Let's hear him once again. The following excerpt, he was speaking to a reporter in Yaoundé, Gizogu.
So it is a work not just for the National Communication Council, it's for everyone in the communication area, because it's a situation that affects all of us and it impacts the society. If one is curbed and the other is not, we have not made a difference. I think this is to make a difference in the way we use speech in our media. They are light in their character. Some of them have not received any training. Some of them have come in the profession without knowing where they were going. And any Tom, Dick, Harry is a journalist today. Maybe, if there was more training, it will help us.
That is the president of the National Communication Council there, insisting on the need for the fight against hate speech in Cameroon to be intensified. It should be noted that he is holding that meeting with media men and women ahead of the 7th of October presidential election in Cameroon. It is taking place at the time when the meeting that was equally grouping governors of the 10 regions of the country ended today in the nation's capital. Governors in Cameroon were discussing security issues to guarantee hitch-free presidential election come the 7th of October 2018. It was during the semester conference of regional governors that is due to end today, and it should be noted that the Minister of Territorial Administration, who was chairing the meeting or opened the meeting yesterday, Minister Paula Tanganji, said that special security measures have been put in place, especially in the conflict-hit northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon, to guarantee a hitch-free presidential election in Cameroon. Onto something else, the medics or some medical officials led by Dr. Njino are working towards bringing kidney transplantation in Cameroon and other African countries where kidney failure patients still depend solely on hemodialysis. Babla Jonathan is going to be questioning some medical experts on the issue, and is going to be telling us about the phenomenon in Cameroon in the following report. The report of Babila Jonathan that we certainly will be coming back to that in a subsequent newscast. Before we talk about something else, we take a look at this story of security forces in Limbe in the southwest region of Cameroon that interrupted free fishing vessels transporting automatic guns. The vessels docked at the National Shipyard and Engineering Company and are being investigated by Gendarmerie, Customs and livestock officials in Cameroon. David Maimo tells us more in this report.
From the names written on the fishing vessels and the flag, it automatically says the fishing vessels, 3 in number, are from neighboring Nigeria. Navy intelligence officers say they had intelligence of ammunition to enter into Cameroon through the Cameroon territorial waters. This information placed every Navy vessel on very high alert, especially within the Bakassi Peninsula. On Thursday, the 8th of September, at about 9 p.m., the Cameroon Navy, patrolling the oil field of Bakassi, intercepted one of the vessels. The other 2 were captured at about 2 a.m. breaking Friday, the 9th of September, all at Kole, a locality south of the Bakassi Peninsula. We are told a flight boat belonging to one of the fishing vessels managed to escape with some persons on board. It is not clear what the flight boat had on board. Navy commanders say security within Cameroon territorial waters have been intensified with specific instruction from the commander of the armed forces, His Excellency President Paul Biya.
Information we gathered that when the Navy saw these 3 vessels, in pursuit of the vessels, they discovered that they never had any document, and this pushing the Cameroon Navy to go on board the 3 vessels. And of course, automatic weapons were actually discovered in these 3 vessels. That we over 43 persons on board, 43 persons on board the vessels. In fact, the automatic weapons that have been retrieved here by the Cameroon Navy actually is enough to actually cause havoc within a community and carry on huge destruction. And so we have information that will be these persons here, 43 numbers, will be transferred to National Gendarmerie, where they will proceed with more investigations as it unfolds. David Maimo, ÉQUINOXE TV, in Limbe.
And on to something else, we now talk about land title dispute in Edia, Sanaga Maritime Division of the Littoral Region of Cameroon. The people of Losinje, that is a locality in Edia, that rose against the non-respect of land boundary by a company that is based in that part of Cameroon. Details with Franklin Mwabe.
An unusual gathering on a vast hectare of land in a Logbad TD, where inhabitants of the Lekunje municipality are disgruntled. Inhabitants protest against the refusal of an industry, Hevekam, to respect land boundary defined by the President of the Republic. The population of Lekunje are accusing the said company, Hevekam, for going above the boundary prescribed.
Les populations sont en train de demander qu'ils aillent jusqu'à 4 km comme eux-mêmes ils ont.
They say the company has gone as far as expropriating up to 4 kilometers of what the state gave them.
Nous, on veut les terres pour cultiver. Nous sommes des cultivateurs.
We want land to cultivate, they say. After several hours of deliberations, the divisional officer of Lekunje, Hevekam personnel and the population decided to walk to the 4-kilometer disputed piece of land. After a long-distance walk to the conflicted land, the 3 parties came to an agreement to put an end to the conflict.
La parole d'Hevekam s'est traduite par la signature d'un cahier des charges.
The position of Hevekam is manifested by the signing of an agreement which demands that a vital piece of land be reserved for the local population.
Nous avons bien compris que le cahier de charges.
We are happy that Hevekam has respected its engagement with the local population. This will enable the local population to be able to develop.
Les populations aussi vont pouvoir se développer.
La mission qui m'avait été assignée.
I came here to ascertain the respect of the land of locals by Hevekam. I am satisfied to realize that there is strict respect of the laws enforced by both parties.
Nous sommes parvenus à un résultat positif.
The senior divisional officer, director general of Hevekam, and the population of Lekunje took a sigh of relief that at last they have come to an agreement to resolve the conflict, with every party happy with the outcome of the agreement.
And in news out of Cameroon, the mortal remains of the Nobel Peace Prize winner and former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan would to be laid to rest. That is going to be Thursday. This week, meantime, his body arrived to Ghana from Geneva, Switzerland. That was on Monday with commencement of official mourning. Details with ÉQUINOXE and Aze.
It was on Monday, August 10, 2018, that the remains of Kofi Annan, former UN Secretary General, returned to his native land, Ghana, in a solemn ceremony that marked the commencement of official mourning.
And the burial party is also in the United Nations Palace.
Kofi's wife, Nane Maria Annan, his children and senior officials from the World Organization accompanied the casket, which was draped in the blue UN flag as it arrived from Geneva and landed at the Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ghana. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo, who has praised Annan as one of the most illustrious people of the generation, was among the dignitaries at the arrival ceremony. Others included traditional leaders, senior members of the clergy, the hierarchy of the Ghana Armed Forces, and politicians. The UN flag was removed and replaced with the Ghanaian one by the 6 Ghanaian soldiers who carried the coffin and played the last post to signify Annan's return home. Kofi Annan will lie at the Accra International Conference Center, where people can pay their last respects in the days before Thursday's state funeral. Kofi Annan died on August 18 at the age of 80 in Switzerland after a short illness. He was first black African to work as UN Secretary General and was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize.
And the report there on the farewell ceremony of Kofi Annan brings us to the end of this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. Viewers, we thank you so much for joining us as usual. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.